Okay, good morning.
Morning.
Welcome to the Consulting Edge. Today we have Lance Brandow of Brandow Consulting, a Utah-based firm. Lance specializes in inventory management systems and implementation, CRM. And actually, Lance, I'll let you describe what you do yourself. You can do it better than I can.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. We help small business owners who primarily are manufacturers, and we help them with their mainly, once again, primarily inventory management software or manufacturing software. But we also help them with QuickBooks and CRM as well, like you say. And Brandow Consulting got its start with helping Fishbowl Inventory customers succeed in their implementation project. Our customers are generally companies that do about 3 to 30 million a year in revenue. So that size of company. And the smaller companies can succeed with a new inventory management software through just a plug and play. But the larger ones, there's more decisions to be made with who does what department does what, who clicks where and when in the software. So we mostly help the companies on the larger side. That's where we spend most of our time, is helping those companies make best practice decisions regarding their technology and who's responsible for which part of the process or procedure. And we help them create procedural documents. So little bit of background. I got my start way back in 2006. So it's over 20 years now that I've been helping people with inventory management software, accounting software, CRM software. I got my start back in 2006 working for Fishbowl Inventory. And I worked for them for a few years, and then I worked for an accounting firm who introduced me to Method CRM, which is arguably the CRM with the best integration with QuickBooks. And I worked for Woodard Consulting for a couple of years until he really decided he wanted to get into hosting conferences for QuickBooks Pro advisors and help QuickBooks. Yeah. And so he sort of moved away from Fishbowl implementations and Method CRM implementations. Not necessarily move away, but he changed his personal focus and his personal passion. He assigned his team to handle the Fishbowl and Method CRM implementations, but he changed his personal focus into helping QuickBooks Pro advisors succeed in their bookkeeping practices and CFO practices and financial advisory practices.
Nice.
But that wasn't my thing. My thing was primarily Fishbowl Inventory. So in 2006, I started Brandow Consulting. Not 2006, excuse me, 2012. I started Brandow Consulting primarily to help small business owners who use Fishbowl succeed in the Fishbowl industry, in their Fishbowl inventory implementation projects. So then about 5 years ago, back in 2020, 2021, I began a focus in helping small business owners find the right inventory management software for them. And of course, that easily branched into help them find whatever software they need, right? Whether it's CRM or accounting or inventory management software. And so I very naturally grew into, or organically grew into, a fractional CTO and a fractional COO space to help small business owners find the right technology and implement that technology. And so I'm partnered with gosh, 20 to 30 inventory management software companies and affiliate myself with a few CRM companies. And of course, I'm a QuickBooks Pro advisor, and my colleague is a QuickBooks Pro advisor, and my other colleague is a fractional CFO. So I focus more on the CTO side and the COO side. They kind of go hand in hand, and he focuses on the CFO side.
Well, I have a lot of questions. So
Yeah.
we'll start with you talked about how projects don't fail from complexity. They fail from decision-making structure, too many meetings and no clear owner. Do you have a real example of that you've seen recently, and how do you manage through that with a client?
Yeah. So there's this concept of being either a multiplier or a diminisher, right? Having an outward mindset or an inward mindset. And what I've found is when I am in the implementation or the technology implementation project, people use the technology, and the people can make the technology, the digital transformation, if you will, or the technology implementation, the inventory software implementation, the accounting software implementation, the CRM implementation. The people can make those projects succeed or fail, and it can that success or failure often trickles down from management. And like recently, you asked me if I have an example. Recently, I worked with a company. I'm not going to throw out names. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, right? But recently, I worked with a company who I would say several of the managers are diminishers, not multipliers, and that trickles down. And what a diminisher is someone who does not accentuate the positive, someone who does not empower. Inspire and instruct is more my style.
Mhm.
That's what a multiplier does, is inspires and instructs and empowers the person to perform at their greatest potential, right? A diminisher, on the other hand, is not as much as a visionary. Does not share his vision with his subordinates, and empower and trust the subordinates to perform at their greatest potential. And a diminisher could even be critical to any extent, either highly critical or a little critical. But a diminisher may foster a culture of fear, and really, for a company to perform at their highest capability, that fear needs to be gone, right? Um, the the subordinates, the staff, the people who are actually doing the work need to be championed and rewarded for exploiting their weaknesses and their problems,
Mhm.
which which is a challenge. People don't want to share what their problems are,
Right.
right? They want to look good to their boss. And so it's a common tendency for the boss to be feared, you know? And I would say if your subordinates fear you, then you need to look inside yourself and ask why. Because fear decreases performance.
Sure.
I think a lot of managers and people in leadership think that fear improves performance. But what are the people doing behind closed doors? When you give your command and say, I want you to do this or else, they're going to nod their head and say, yes, sir, absolutely, whatever you say, sir. But then behind closed doors, are they actually going to do that? But if you have a trusting relationship, more like a sponsor in a 12-step program, or a pastor in a church, right? A bishop in a church that is okay with people confessing a problem or a challenge that they're having. if people aren't afraid to be open about challenges and problems, um,
Absolutely.
not
Yeah.
fear of blame, then we're all going to help each other succeed,
Right. You have
right?
to have that open communication, and you're getting a lot into change management, which there's a lot of science around how to do successful enterprise implementations and do the discipline of the change management side of it, separate from the actual implementation, has been critical in some of the large projects I've worked on. Let's shift direction a little bit. So it's really interesting. You're not only consulting with businesses, but you're obviously an expert on a number of software packages and work with a number of vendors, as you discussed. What are you seeing those vendors do with AI within their platforms? Are you seeing them embrace AI and really deploy new features and functionality based on that? Or are they lagging? What's your take on that in your space?
I see it all over the map, right? I see some racing towards AI and implementing AI as much as possible. I know Fishbowl Inventory is doing this. They're they're adopting AI as much as possible anywhere they can, right? And they're partnering with AI programs that plug into their software, right? I also see some lagging behind. I don't see any evidence of AI in the software. Just off the top of my head, Acumatica and Odoo, I've looked at them a lot recently. I'm not seeing a huge push towards AI, and that's just what I've seen. That
Mhm.
doesn't mean they're not. It's just not obvious.
Right.
Um,
Right. Are
with
you seeing
Fishbowl, it's
your
obvious.
I'm sorry, are you seeing your clients kind of step in for those applications that aren't publicly embracing or deploying AI and kind of patching in AI where they think it's a benefit?
I'm saying with the Acumatica demos and the Odoo demos, Inflow demos, Katana demos, Sin 7 core demos, what I've seen recently, I haven't seen them with a huge push towards AI. Now, that doesn't mean they're not making steps towards adopting AI, but by all means, I think they probably are because there is a fear where if you don't adopt AI, you're going to be left behind.
Exactly.
And I like to tell my kids, hey, AI is not going to steal people's jobs. AI users are going to steal people's jobs,
I like that. That's
right?
absolutely accurate.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I think it's really important for us to learn AI any way we can. Have fun with it, but also um, learn the things that you need to learn. Go through the frustrations. I remember when the internet first came out and Google searches first came out.
Mhm.
Do you remember what it was like to do a Google search and experience some frustration that you're not finding what you wanted to find? There was this small learning curve, I think, with working with search engines.
Mhm.
And and I think the learning curve on the search engine side was there as well. They were always updating their technology, trying to determine how the users are going to use it. And I'm finding myself having that experience with ChatGPT and Grok and one AI I like to have fun with. I think it's called Sumo or Sumo. I think it is. It's a music AI where it creates
Oh,
music.
fun.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a learning curve with with using uh, these technologies. I'm by no means an expert in this area, but I have had a lot of experience recently creating queries for Fishbowl, and that's been super exciting. But yeah, because I have a custom report writer who writes queries. She's been working for me for almost 10 years now, and she's a web developer and a query writer. And I've started helping Fishbowl users. As soon as they ask me and give me a design, I say, well, let's make this a query instead of report. And I can just do it right now. We can just work with chat for a minute and get a query in there.
Mhm.
Um,
Well,
and then
let
I've
me ask
also,
you,
yeah,
sorry to interrupt. Let me ask you about that because I'm also very curious about how you're leveraging AI, what you're getting into within your own practice. And I was curious about your developer and report writer, whether that can become a bottleneck and whether you've used AI to kind of increase capacity since that's kind of a one-person show within your shop.
yeah, yeah. It's definitely not a bottleneck. We don't do enough custom report writing for her to be full time. She actually has a full time job
Right.
elsewhere and has been working for me part time for 10 years. So she's like a part time outside subcontractor. And um, recently, she has been embracing AI to help her create queries. And so I don't know if our customers know this, but she's probably she's probably a little more profitable now. Because
Mhm.
she can just have AI create the query and then she does the final tweaking and she looks over it and says, AI guessed this wrong. It doesn't know this table or this field. It thinks it knows the database structure, but it didn't look it up fully, or maybe it looked up an older version of the database, right? So she's still the expert, but AI is just a powerful tool to help her create those queries.
But that's a perfect example of what you were saying. AI is not going to completely replace people doing that function. You have to have that human interaction with the client and the ability to kind of reality test the software that's being developed, the results that are coming out. The person that knows AI is going to excel. The person that doesn't use it in that role is going to get displaced because they're not going to be efficient or effective compared to people who are leveraging the tools available to them. So that's a perfect example of what you teach your kids.
Yeah, yeah.
So, well, that's very interesting. So what what do you see going back to your clients and the softwares that you work with? What do you see as the biggest gap there in terms of leveraging AI that you think the software providers should be doing that you don't see them doing today? Do you see any gaps like that?
So it's really hard to build a mansion on top of a condo foundation, right? And I think this is the biggest challenge these software companies have. Technology advances super fast.
It does.
Yeah, faster than we can keep up with. And um, what these software companies are finding that they have to do is come up with a new software program, not enhance their current software program, but build a new one, right? And that's very discouraging. They have all these customers on their current software platform, and they somehow have to figure out a way to keep up with the changing technology and the constant technology advancement. I mean, technology advances at an exponential rate, not a
It
linear
does.
rate. It's exploding, and and so it's very discouraging to these software companies to realize, hey, I've got this sexy, awesome software that we've been bragging about forever, and we've got 600 people or 6,000 people on our platform, and we're profitable and awesome. But now they want to go to the cloud. That happened 5 or 10 years ago.
Mhm.
Okay, so they built this new software that's now in the cloud, or they somehow finagled their desktop software to look like it's in the cloud. And now everybody wants AI. It's like, at some point they realize, well, we have to almost start a new company and basically budget and keep a nest egg to the side of us for building an entirely new software. What I'm waiting for, or honestly, my partner and I have talked about doing this, is some one of these companies completely, entirely embracing AI to just build their software. And I know a lot of them are. Like I've spoken with some of their coders, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we absolutely are using AI to do the coding, right?" But what customers need, what they really want, is they want to be able to use AI to do the final tweaks. So what I mean is a lot of these software programs are about 95% there. I mentioned earlier, maybe I didn't mention it that clearly, but one thing I've been doing for the past several years is helping small business owners find the right inventory management software, right? That's something I do. I've helped over 150 companies in the last 3 years find the right inventory management software. Okay. And what I find when I do these assessments, I do a deep dive discovery interview, and then I do a narrow down exercise. I have a database of 100 or 250 possible features that an inventory software could have. And so I match up after I do a discovery interview with the small business owner. I match up their company profile and their workflow and their required list of features with the software that has those features. Okay. So I'm doing this matching game where I'm matching a list of required features with a list of available features. And I'm narrowing down the list of 40 software programs to 3. And then I put together, I bring the software developers or the software sellers together with the software buyers, kind of like a realtor in the software world, right? And sort of I'm there during the home showing, the walkthrough of the home, but it's the software. So I'm doing these projects, and what I'm noticing is there's no out of the box software that does 100% of what they want for the price that they can afford.
Right.
Right? These small business owners that do between 3 million to 30 million a year, they can't afford, many of them cannot afford the ERP that does everything. And they can't afford the implementation project. So we're looking at the smaller software programs that plug into QuickBooks. And those software programs get 95% there most of the time, right? So what do you do with that 5% gap where the software doesn't do what you need it to do? Well, you hire a developer to create a custom plugin, a custom integration. Well, what I would love to see in the industry, and I'm sure we're going in this direction, is the customer not have to hire a developer, but just subscribe to an AI that can develop the remaining features that they need.
Right.
And if there was a software company like these inventory management software vendors, if they would build their software to be more AI friendly, so the customer could just say, hey, I don't want my software to do this. I want it to do this. Mr. AI robot, will you please make it do that? And then, the software customizing AI robot would say, oh, yeah, that means I need to change this code and change that code. And obviously, it would probably need to work through API to protect the source code, the foundational code. We don't want to screw that up. But yeah,
I don't think we're very far off from that. So
I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, listen, we're almost out of time here. This has been very interesting conversation. I really appreciate your time, Lance. If people want to find you and talk to you about your services, how do they reach out to you?
Easiest thing to do is just Google Brandow Consulting.
Perfect.
Brandow Consulting. Yeah, we have a YouTube channel with a library of a few hundred videos that help you with software demos. They feature software implementers and other companies that I've partnered with. Have a library of a lot of Fishbowl Inventory tutorial videos. And then our website will also show you the different offerings and features we have. And you fill out a contact form and schedule a call with us.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Lance, very informative call. Thank you very much. Again, really appreciate your time and have a great rest of your week.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me.